What's up, guys? Have you ever gone on the most incredible ride of your life and you had your GoPro with you, you recorded the whole thing, it was an awesome ride. You get home, you look at it, and it turns out the footage was terrible. Your GoPro positioning was just way off, the angle was awful, and the footage is basically unusable. Well, I've been there too, and it sucks a lot. In fact, it happened to me when Amy and I were on our honeymoon and we were mountain biking in Peru. It was absolutely incredible. The views were insane, and I made the biggest mistake in the world. It was my first time using a chest mount harness. I actually borrowed it from another guy who was on the same tour as us, and the footage just came out terribly, and I was so bummed after the fact. There's only a couple little tiny clips here and there that were even usable. The rest was pretty much just staring at my legs in the ground. I've learned a lot over the years, and I'm here to help you position your GoPro so that way you don't make the same mistake and you get amazing footage no matter where you're riding with any type of bike, and regardless of whether it's mounted on your head, chest, whatever it may be. We're gonna start with the least ideal and then work our way up so that way the footage gets better and better. First things first, we're gonna cover how I used to mount mine way back in the day, and that is just like this, on the very top of the helmet. Now, of course, when you put your helmet on and it's all the way up top up here, it ends up creating a super high angle and it has to look all the way down at the ground. Personally, this isn't ideal for when you're recording. Instead of mounting it up high like this, the ideal way to mount a GoPro is keeping it as low to the ground as possible. It just gives a more immersive feel and it gives a better sense of speed as the surroundings around you are whizzing by the image that's being captured by the camera. However, if you are going to be using a trail helmet and mounting the GoPro on the top of your head like this, you want to be sure that each time you adjust your camera so that it's perfectly angled so that you can't see the top of the helmet. In my experience, this provides the best view. But if you have a visor on your helmet, there's not much you can do, and it's fine if you keep it in the shot, of course. When utilizing a trail helmet, I personally have found that I really like to use a chest harness. A chest harness like this provides the exact type of view that I was describing earlier. Nice and low, giving you that immersive feel with a sense of speed of the objects on the ground and the brush below whizzing by as you're cruising down the single track. And then also it creates for a really dynamic shot with the handlebars in the foreground, moving around and just keeping the video interesting and exciting to watch. Now, when you're using a chest harness, there's one mistake that a lot of people tend to make, and that is the way they mount the GoPro on the harness. You have to be sure that you don't mount it like this. Right now, the GoPro is mounted near vertical and parallel to my chest, which seems great when you're up and walking around, but what you're not taking into account is that you're going to be leaned over on the handlebars. So you end up with that view that we showed at the beginning, and it's just straight down at the ground, only showing your bike and nothing else. The good news is there's a really easy way to fix this, and that is you just flip the GoPro around in the chest harness. Flip it around just like that, and in fact, you might need to tilt it up a little bit more so that way you get an even better angle. Of course, when you're walking around like this, it's just going to be pointed straight up at the sky. It seems kind of odd, and even the footage might show your face from time to time when you're just walking around or if you stop and you're talking. But the key here is that when you're on your bike, you're leaned over in that attack position, and the GoPro then is perfectly perpendicular to the ground and really providing a great viewpoint of all of the surroundings. One more thing to keep in mind when you're using a chest harness is to be aware of what's around the camera. I've made the mistake myself. You want to make sure if you're wearing a hoodie that these little strings aren't bouncing in front of the camera the whole time. In addition to that, you want to keep an eye out for camelback straps, bladder hoses that might be dangling down in front, because it's going to be really distracting from the video that you're trying to capture of you on the trail. In addition to making sure that there's nothing blocking the view of the camera, you also want to make sure the chest harness is on really tight. It's going to be a snug fit, but that is optimal for getting good quality footage, especially with older GoPros that don't have hyper smooth. You want to make sure that the GoPro isn't just flopping around the whole time you're riding down the trail. If you can feel it flopping, that means the footage is going to reflect that. And you want to cinch down the strap so that it's really tight and snug and pretty much just feels like it's one with your body. That's the key to getting good footage from a chest cam. There's still one more GoPro camera position that I really prefer, and that's always my go-to whenever possible. But before we get to that, there's one super important setting that we actually have to make on the GoPro, and that is the field of view. The field of view, or your focal length, on the GoPro is described as linear, wide, or super view. And for action sports, it's pretty much always a guarantee that you want to be utilizing the widest view possible. Again, it just really helps to give that immersive view and the best sense of speed and all the action that's happening that you're capturing on the camera. I've provided a few examples that you can see here of comparisons between linear and super view. The linear is pretty much just like it's zoomed in onto the trail. You don't have a good sense of your surroundings, and it's just kind of awkward to look at. However, when you expand that view to the super view, it gives you a full sense of the surrounding environment as well as the speed on the trail and everything that's happening. It's definitely key to set it to super view or wide to be sure to get the best footage out of your POV camera. And speaking of getting the best footage, that's where I like to utilize my full face and mounting it right here on the chin bar. To do this, I actually use a strap that's made by GoPro, and I wrap it through the chin bar holes that I have on my Fox Pro frame helmet. And this works out great to be able to mount the GoPro directly to the front of my chin bar and get those perfect angles that everybody loves. Mounting the GoPro to the helmet also allows it to stabilize the footage even more than when it's on your chest. So with this, I can get a really similar view to the chest by tilting the camera down just a little bit to get the handlebars into the foreground of the shot to show more of the action and the intensity of the trail while still maintaining a pretty decent view of my surroundings. There is one downside though, and that is sometimes I can't get everything in the view that I would like to, because I'm trying to capture the trail that's in front of me while also capturing the surroundings. And this can be a little bit tricky to maintain because if I show too much of the surroundings at too high of an angle, you can't really see the trail below. In addition to that, the bike isn't in the foreground and it pretty much looks like I'm just floating through space. It can be interesting, but after a while, the video can get kind of boring. On occasion, if I'm getting some follow cam, I may opt to tilt it up a little bit higher to focus instead on the rider that's in front of me, more so than focusing on me and what's happening on my bike. Fortunately, as some of you may have come to realize, I have found a solution to this problem in trying to get the full frame while also keeping my bike in the shot. Unfortunately, it's not possible with my GoPro Hero, at least the 7. Maybe the 9 has a wider field of view. The solution that I found is the GoPro Max, GoPro's 360 camera. It also has a hero mode and a massive, massive field of view. It is incredible how wide this gets, even when it's in hero mode, and it captures everything that I want in the shot. In addition to that, because it's so wide, it directly correlates the sense of speed on the trail, and the footage pretty much looks just like it does in real life, which is something I love. So the Max has been my camera that I turned to, and originally when I got it, I was only planning to use it for skiing, and then I used it once mountain biking, and I realized this is where it's at. Another awesome feature about the GoPro Max is the stabilization. In addition to the crazy wide field of view, the stabilization on this camera is insane. It is super, super smooth. With that, I'm gonna finish out this video with some footage of the rest of this trail that we're on from the GoPro Max, and this trail is Rocks and Trees, located here in Vicenza, and I love this trail so much simply because it's the closest one to my house. I can climb up the road, hit this trail, and be back in my house in 20 minutes, and it's fantastic. It's got plenty of high-speed technical rock gardens, a drop about halfway down, and a few berms here and there that you can really push into, as well as some really flat 180-degree switchback corners that get super awkward and loose, and you're pretty much just sliding around trying to maintain as much grip as you possibly can. But anyways, guys, I hope that you found this video helpful and that you can get out there and get the best footage possible of you out on the trail. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and tell me where to ride next.